How's everyone this morning? Everyone excited and ready for Christmas? So many people ready. You know, it's getting down to the wire, right? It's the same day every year. I think we forget sometimes that it's the same day every year. And yet we get into this rush, we get into this place where it's like, oh no, Christmas is here. It's always been there. It's always been on that day. Who feels really peaceful about the holidays? There's a solid 20%. Solid 20% feel peaceful. Well, this message is for the rest. You guys can relax, have a nap. This is for everyone else. Peace is a funny thing. I think it's a funny thing that Monique had to say what she had to say. Is a little bit of a spoiler alert. A little bit. But that's kind of like who Jesus is, right? We like secrets. We really like secrets just as human beings. It's like, oh, I know something you don't know. And it's like, with Jesus, it's like, I know something you don't know. And he's like, yeah, I know that too. Let me tell you.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
It's like, I have a secret, and it's I am peace. I am goodness. And I am everything you need. Voila. So you know, it's like I've got a little bit of something that I was going to say at the end. Monique kind of spoiled it, but it's fine because I know it's Jesus. He's just really excited because he wants you to know something. That there's something about praise that changes us. There's something about praise that changes our perspective. There's something about praise that changes the way our minds focus on things. There's something about God's goodness that is so overwhelming. It's just so overwhelming. But sometimes it's hard to see. Sometimes we get kind of muddled up by the stuff that's going on. And I want to give you 5 things to help bring a little bit of peace to your life. To help shift a little bit of perspective in different areas. Where can we find peace and where can we be peace? Right? Because we can, it's definitely hard to find peace, let me tell you, and a lot of times. But did you know it's even crazier that you can actually bring peace? Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I love the response this morning. Keep it up. Like we're starting here, let's stay here. By the end, it would really suck if we're down here. So hopefully we stay up here. I think everyone here can say that they've lived through some overwhelming moments in life, some overwhelming times. I mean, even a 2-year-old, it's like, oh, when's the next episode of Paw Patrol going to come out? So overwhelming. I know it well. There's overwhelming times in our lives, and it's easy to lose perspective. It's easy to kind of get wrapped up in it, right? You get completely wrapped up, and it feels like you're completely isolated. It feels like, no one gets what I'm going through. Did you know that's the place that God doesn't want you, but there's someone that really wants you there? Wants you isolated. Because peace actually comes through confrontation. Ooh. I'm not going to talk about killing people. That never works. But peace comes through confronting the problems that are actually in front of you. The robber of peace wants you so isolated and so backed down that you don't confront the very thing that's in front of you that will bring peace to you. There's a robber out there that wants you alone, that wants you set off to the side, not really understanding the power that is in you. There's incredible peace that you carry. His name is Jesus. Confrontation is a funny thing. We kind of get afraid of that word, I think, a lot of times. We get afraid of for a lot of years, I was the type that would just kind of cower at confrontation. It's like, it'll just get better over time. But sometimes you just need to put your big boy pants on and go after some stuff. You know what I mean? Because I think we can all say that we've struggled with self-image issues, with self-worth issues. But there's something crazy about what Jesus did. It took your perception of your self-worth and completely flopped it on its head. And he said, did you know how holy and how good you are? We're going to get there. Getting ahead of myself. I just want to go to a little bit of a story this morning. Just an illustration that Jesus gave. We're going to be kind of going through a couple different things that Jesus spoke. But this one is specifically about confrontation. It's in Luke 11, verse 5 to 13. Imagine what would happen if you were to go to one of your friends in the middle of the night, pound on his door and shout, "Please, do you have some food you can spare? A friend just arrived at my house unexpectedly and I have nothing to serve him." But your friend says, "Why are you bothering me? The door's locked and my family and I are still in bed." That's a weird thing, like to lay in bed and shout out to the front door. I've never had to do that before, but maybe the time's coming. But because of your shameless impudence, even though it's the middle of the night, your friend will get up out of their bed and give you all that you need. So it is with your prayers. Ask and you'll receive. Seek and you'll discover. Knock on heaven's door and it will one day be open for you. Every persistent person will get what he asks for. Every persistent seeker will discover what he needs. And everyone who knocks persistently will one day find an open door. Let's just think about that for a second. Confrontation. Go after it. I am tired. I need rest. I need peace. Have you thought to ask for it? This kind of leads into something else that I want to point out this morning about community. Because confrontation is one thing, but if I don't feel backed up, am I going to confront stuff? Peace comes through community, through our connection with one another. If you have people that you're surrounded by, if you have healthy people willing to call you out, willing to build you up, willing to push you forward, it changes the world. It changes everything. But you know what it requires? It requires you to actually say something. That's the hardest part of it all. We can all walk through stuff, but every single person around us can be completely blind to it. And we go, why am I going through this? Why isn't there anyone to help me? Anyone who's been married, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Anyone who's been married knows that there's moments where there's an expectation of mind reading. Anyone know what I'm talking about? I am getting the glare. I'm going to just look this way so that I don't see it. But there's an expectation of mind reading. How could you not know? I've never heard those words. I don't know what you're talking about. Right? We've had those conversations. Yeah, come on. Thank you. I'm glad someone, I was just like, is it warm in here? But we've had those conversations, right? Where there's kind of an expectation. But the moment it comes out, it's like, oh, well, yeah, of course I should have known. Saved myself there. But it's like that with our friend groups, even more so. If the person that we're living with can't read our minds, How can we expect all the other people that are involved in our lives to read our minds? How can we expect them to just see what we're going through? If I have something aching in my heart, it's in my heart. I need to put it out somewhere. I need to let someone know what's going on. It's crazy how much being in community holds us accountable to ourselves, to our thought processes. But it all comes through humility, and it comes through communication. There's no way to actually get it out there unless we decide to put it out there. And it's scary because it requires risk. Right? It requires risk. If I put myself out there, I might get hurt. That's true. That's true. And a lot of times, that feeling is justified by experience. But the reality is, there are people around you that love you dearly, that love you deeply, and want incredible, incredible things for you. If you don't have those people around you, find some. Because they are there. I promise you they're there. Even if there's one, it changes the world. Even if there's one, it changes the world. It changes everything. Because Christ in them, the hope of glory, will introduce you to Christ in you, the hope of glory. Amen? There's peace in remembrance. We've all walked through stuff. Have you decided to think back? Have you chosen to think back to the victory? Have you chosen to share your victory? This is part of not only receiving peace, but bringing peace. To see what God has done, to see what He has brought you through, and to see where He's going to bring you to. That remembrance is so important. If we just stop for a second and just think of times that we have felt so isolated, and then the victory that followed that time. Just think of one time. It can be something simple. It can be something that seems so small. But just think of that one time. How faithful is He to do it again? How faithful is He to bring you through that again? To bring you, to provide a way out so that you can endure it. It's one of my favorite verses in the Bible. It's, Jesus has provided you a way out so that you can endure it. Some people like to stop at, He's provided you a way out. It's like, oh yes, I'm out of here. But then they read the second part and they're like, crap. So that you can endure it. You mean I have to keep going? Yes. But He's given us a way out so that you can endure it, so that you can have peace in knowing there is victory. Not there might be, not there could be, but there is available to you. There is peace for you. There is victory for you. It's not a question, it's an is. It's a fact. It's a truth. Just like God is love, Jesus is truth. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. It was announced before He was even born. You shall call Him Wonderful Counselor, Prince of Peace. The bringer of peace before He was even born. That remembrance is not only important for you to remember, but for others. Especially the older generation here. The champions that have walked through and seen so much. Us young bucks who have lots of life left to live. I'm not saying that you're going to die soon. It's really mean. Hopefully not. But we need those stories. We need those victories. Sometimes we're a little too stubborn to ask. Sometimes we're a little too stubborn to say, hey, I need to know. Have you walked through this? Have you seen this? Because you have seen victory in your life. You've seen great, great pain, but you've also seen great, great victory. You're champions of faith, and we need those stories. Because we need to know that God is in it. We need to know that God is in it. Right? So that also comes at a cost of us young people actually willing to listen. I personally love stories. So they give me hope. And hope gives me peace. So I just kind of want to run through this again. Peace comes through confrontation. Don't be afraid to go after some stuff in your life. Don't be afraid to confront the problems that you're going through. It's easy to brush them off, or it's easy to say that time will heal it. But the reality is Christ is with you now to overcome, because he is named overcomer, and he has called you overcomer. There's peace in community. Remember, our connection with one another is important. It's valuable. It brings us to a place of victory because we can champion each other. We can walk with each other through life and through victory. There's peace in remembrance. Remember where God has been. Remember where he has been in your life, and it'll help you see clearly where he's going to be. And there's peace and hopefulness. That remembrance brings hope. Remember the goodness of who he is. And the last part that I want to kind of really dig into is there's peace in his presence. There's incredible peace in his presence. John 14:26, but when the Father sends the Spirit of holiness, the one like me who sets you free, he will teach you all things in my name. He will inspire you to remember every word that I've taught you. Every word that I've taught you. I leave the gift of peace with you, my peace, not the kind of fragile peace given by the world, but my perfect peace. Do not yield to fear or be troubled in your hearts. Instead, be courageous. Be courageous. Go after it. It's time to see how valuable you really are. His presence brings so much to us. It shifts our identity. It shifts the way we view ourselves. In Romans 5, it says, our faith in Jesus transfers God's righteousness to us. And he now declares us flawless in his eyes. This means we can now enjoy true and lasting peace with God, all because of what our Lord Jesus, the Anointed One, has done for us. Our faith guarantees us permanent access into this marvelous kindness that has given us a perfect relationship with God. I just want to stop there for a second, because this doesn't say a mediocre relationship. It says it gives us a perfect relationship with God. Anyone ever go to pray and go, I don't really want to hear what he has to say, because he might look at me different, because I've made some mistakes, I've done some stuff? Do you see that it gives us a perfect relationship with God, and there's nothing you can do about it? You can't self-shame your way out of a perfect relationship with God. You can't self-shame your way out of the way that he looks at you. What an incredible joy bursts forth within us as we keep on celebrating our hope of experiencing God's glory. But that's not all. Even in times of trouble, we have joyful confidence, knowing that our pressures will develop us patient endurance, and patient endurance will refine our character, and proven character leads us back to hope. And this hope is not a disappointing fantasy, because we can now experience the endless love of God cascading into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who lives in us. There's something about the overwhelming shift that God places over us, of shifting our identity and shifting who we are, shifting our mindset from who we think we are into who he thinks we are, that is overwhelming. Because I sit there and I think, I can easily look at my life and pick out all the dirt, right? We can all do that. We can look at ourselves and start picking out all the garbage, the way that we view ourselves in different situations. Oh, why did I make that choice? How could I have hurt that person? And we sit there and we can easily do that. But God's mind is not to focus on those things. God's mind is to shift our perspective. So we are righteous because of him. We are made whole because of him, and there's nothing we can do about it. Again, it's not something we can earn. It's not something that we can make happen. It's not something that we can do. We just are. Just like you are a human being. You can't not be a human being. You can't just go and decide to be an apple tree. Just like an apple tree can't decide to just suddenly be a pear tree. An apple tree doesn't stand there and go, apples. It just is. Well, I don't actually know what an apple tree thinks of, so maybe it does stand there and do that really angrily. It just is. Righteousness is who you are. It says it. I can repeat it again. Our faith in Jesus transfers God's righteousness to us, and he now declares us flawless in his eyes. I can try and say that as many different times as I can, but the more I read it, it says that I'm flawless, and God has declared me righteous. And I haven't even come to the reality of what that means yet. When I stand from a place of victory, understanding my righteousness, understanding who Jesus is in my life, understanding his presence in my life, it brings incredible, incredible peace. Because if he made me righteous and there's nothing I can do about it, what victory is he going to bring me through? What goodness is going to come because of it? How good are you? It's kind of like a Ferrari. Anyone a car person here? There are zero? Okay, we got two. We got two car people. I'm speaking to you, car people. It's like a really fast car. You never actually know how fast it goes until you put the pedal down. To the floor. You never actually know. You could be going fast. Like, man, this car goes fast. But you never know how fast until you actually push the pedal down. You never know how righteous and holy you are until you actually dive into it. You never know how much Jesus is present in your life until you actually look for him. You never know how much peace you actually have until you search for peace. Sometimes you got to look for things. Sometimes you just got to do things. Sometimes you got to be confrontational. Sometimes you got to go after it. Sometimes I hear preachers talk about being really passive. Not Jeff, though. But sometimes I hear, you hear that, just kind of, it'll get better. It'll get better someday. No. Not anymore. Not someday. I'm looking for him right now. I'm looking for where he's at, and I'm following that line. Because it's going to be a lot easier if I do that than try and do this on my own. I got people around me that love me. I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm fine. I'm going to tell them, stuff has hit the fan. Just stuff. And I need help. I need you in my life. I need you to tell me it's okay. To tell me I can do this. And I need you to walk with me. Right? We all need that. And it's okay to have problems. It better be okay to have problems because I got a few. Just ask Jordan. Jordan's my wife, if anyone doesn't know. Yeah, just ask her. She'll tell you lots. But the beauty is I don't have to let those problems define me. I don't have to let those things become who I am. I can become who God has called me to be. You can become who God has called you to be. It's usually a lot better than we look at ourselves. But you are holy. You are worthy. You are good. You are made righteous. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's not. His grace gives us an excuse to not sin. I just want to make that clear. A lot of people talk about grace. His grace gives us an excuse not to sin. A lot of people think, oh, grace, I can do whatever I want. No. It gives you an excuse to actually be who you were designed to be by who he has called you to be. And to not live in shame when you make a mistake. And when you make that mistake, you rise above it, you move forward, and you do not turn back towards it. You turn your back towards it. Right? It's a good one. I should write that down. That one was for free. So I just want to close with this. Over this Christmas season, things can get a little overwhelming. Don't be alone in it. Don't feel isolated. Don't isolate yourself. If you're someone who's in need, express it. If you're someone who's sitting there thinking, I'm not enough, take the risk to believe that you might be enough. That there's Jesus who loves you so deeply. That there's people in this community who love you so deeply. That you are worth it.